This is the Tree of Life, Season 31, Chapter 1. In this episode, we will be talking about tolerances and hierarchical redundancies. If you recall, in the complete series, we talked about the breathing exercises. To reiterate, you find a comfy place like a chair, or lay down on a bed, and you breathe deeply to clear your lungs. You then relax your extremities, and fill your lungs as far as you can until you cannot bear to bring in another breath. Then you inhale just a little bit more. And a little bit more. Until you surely cannot get any more air in your lungs. Then, you hold it, longer than you think you can. Just a little bit longer. The moment you have a strong impulse to exhale, you hold it, just a second longer, a few seconds longer. Then you exhale. Then you empty your lungs completely using your diaphragm, to rid your lungs of all the air they hold. Until your lungs are completely empty. Then you hold it for just a little bit longer than you think you can. And when you have held it just a few seconds longer than a strong impulse to exhale, you exhale. You do this for 5 minutes, or so, and you have completed this exercise. Now, this method is useful for a few reasons. 1. It demonstrates your ability to extend your tolerances, to go beyond what even you think you are capable of. Second, by gradually increasing what you can handle, you are increasing your tolerances. Up until now, we haven't discussed tolerances in any great particularity. With this episode, I would like to explain how they are relevant to both sublimation and infinite recursion and hierarchical priority. You must imagine that in order for perceptual experiences to stack, there must be emotional coupling between the digital structures describing them. Thus, you can see that by prolonging the phase flip in one digital structure, you are extending the time during which hierarchically related individuals can be stacked. The capacity of a structure to hold tension and the duration it may hold that tension is a reflection of a vessel's tolerances. Tolerances also play a role in sublimation. The higher the tolerance, the more tension captured in an artifact of sublimation following negation. This captured tension is preserved in the artifact by the time it takes for that artifact to degenerate through the dialectical degeneration. Now, if you imagine that two individuals are stacked hierarchically, that is, the incoming consciousness is acting out the impulse of the outgoing consciousness according to the objective of that outgoing consciousness. The longer the time in between tension releases, or phase flips, the less opportunity for substitution events or negation. This means that the tolerance of the incoming consciousness determines the capacity of that reverse substitution to complete their objectives. But structures can also have redundancies to shore up poor stacking of the incoming consciousness. If you imagine that an incoming consciousness has frequent opportunities for negation, a large number of tension releases not shared by the outgoing consciousness, the result is poor stacking of perceptual experiences and inefficiency in completing the tasks selected by the outgoing consciousness. To correct issues with poorly stacked subjects, institutional structures, which rely on hierarchical priority, can use redundant hierarchies to improve the stacking within the main hierarchy. Let me give you an example. Let's suppose person A and person B are within hierarchical priority such that person A is higher in priority and is the outgoing consciousness in reverse substitution. Let's imagine that person B is poorly stacked. That is, frequent negation causes delays in the completion of the objective-oriented tasks of A. Now, let's say person C is in a hierarchy with both person A and person B. This person C is senior to person B and junior to person A. Now, if person C exhibits a reversed priority to B through investment, since this is an institutional structure, not a parental structure, let's call it institutional investment, then C becomes the incoming consciousness for person B, substituting for person B with person A as the outgoing consciousness. The result is that person B can be properly stacked by person C, meeting the objective-oriented goals of person A in the place of B. But of course, B is the outgoing consciousness for person C, in this case, and A is the outgoing consciousness for person C. It is important to note that these redundancies can eliminate substitution events with respect to a subject by virtue of the intercession of a separate hierarchy with distinct priority. Finally, it may be that the issue with person B, stacking effectively in the first structure, could be with respect to his or her tolerances. Tolerances represent the lifetime of a digital structure prior to a phase flip. That is, in the initial structure, impulse 1 is affirmed and impulse not 1 negated. The phase flip sees that switch such that impulse not 1 is affirmed and impulse 1 is negated. Phase flips are the ordinary outcome of tension being captured in a digital structure, needing a release through either a negational rhythm, an affirmational rhythm, or simply a movement that releases tension in the 5 spatial plates. Thus, a mismatch of tension releases or negation within the behavior of an incoming consciousness can impair their completion of the goal-oriented actions of the outgoing consciousness on an efficient basis. That's the end of the podcast for today.